I'm just going to launch our first poll of the session. Sasha, if you wouldn't mind launching that poll. And this is to just give us a bit of an idea of who we've got in the room. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to vote on that poll, and then we'll get handed over and over to Nicole to start this session more officially. I can see the votes flying in there. Thank you for that.
Brilliant. Are we okay to make a start then, Rebecca?
Yes, that's absolutely fine. We've still got some votes coming in. So if you haven't voted on the poll, please continue to do so. And I'll officially hand over now to Nicole.
Brilliant. Thank you. So hi, yeah, I'd just like to introduce myself to start with. So I'm Nicole Butterworth and I sit in the System Flexibility team at Northern Power Grid. First of all, I'm just going to echo what Rebecca just said. I just want to thank you for taking the time out to attend today's webinar. This is our first one of the year, but we are planning on holding more webinars over the course of this year. But today's webinar, we would like to discuss the Flexibility Services Strategy for 2024 to 2026. Your feedback is really important to us, so please contact us at flexibility@northernpowergrid.com with your thoughts. But as Rebecca just said, please feel free to ask questions throughout using the chat function, and then we will answer all of the questions at the end. But if you're wanting to ask any questions that are very specific that you wouldn't want us to cover in the webinar, then we're more than happy to follow up with you after today's call. So if we can just go to the next slide. Thank you. So listed on this slide is the objectives of today's webinar. So these are the ones that we think are key. And first off, we'll be doing an introduction to the team, the strategic objectives, a future tender roadmap, engagement activities. So we're looking for the presentation to be around 30 minutes. And then hopefully we'll have 30 to 20 minutes at the end to go over any questions. Any questions that we don't get answered, we will follow up with. Or as I've said, please get in touch with us at the flexibility@northernpowergrid.com. So hopefully you see some familiar faces on this slide, but I do think it's worth mentioning that we are expanding. We do have 2 members of the team that will be joining us. We have another commercial manager, and he will be focused on the FSP business development, and then also a flexibility operations manager who will be focusing on active network management and dispatch. It's also worth mentioning that all of the team on this slide are on the call today, so they will be available at the end to answer any questions. So we have Maurice Lynch, the head of system flexibility, myself, the commercial manager, Liz Sidebotham and Laura Brown, both commercial managers, and Jeremy Mera, who's the operational data and systems manager. Thank you. So yeah, I'd just like to get straight into it really. So the purpose of today's webinar is highlighted here. We have been working behind the scenes on a strategy that outlines Northern Power Grid's draft flexibility roadmap and engagement plans for 2024 to 2026. And as I mentioned earlier, you will be hearing from different members of the team highlighting the areas that we think are key. But the main purpose of this webinar is you as our stakeholders. We think it's important that you get a say in our plans early on, and we're keen to hear your thoughts on our proposals, because nothing's set in stone at the minute. This is just what we've been thinking about doing. So we want you to participate in their development, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you the best way that we can. So we would like to take you as our flexibility service providers or potential flexibility service providers on this journey with us. As we've mentioned, there will be polls throughout to capture your thoughts, and this webinar is being recorded, and it will be shared on our websites and socials. So I appreciate that we're going to be giving you some information that you may not want to provide feedback on straight away, but we will be publishing this webinar and sending it out on our socials, so it gives you time to reflect on what's been discussed here today, and then provide comments to us. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to our Head of System Flexibility, Maurice Lynch. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. Can you all hear me? Someone give me a quick mic check. Is that okay?
Yes, got you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, welcome everyone. And as I already said, delighted to have you all here. on our flexibility strategy webinar for 24 into 26. As already has been said, the whole point of this webinar is to be completely transparent with you in terms of our plans. As Nicole said, not set in stone, but we want to be very transparent in terms of our strategy that we're outlining, how we're going to approach it, how we're going to implement it and deliver it, and how we're going to support you and vice versa, give you the opportunity to participate in our tenders going forward. So yeah, if that's not been clear, I just want to be really to the point on that. Next slide, please, Rebecca. So I'll quickly just surmise 2023. So it's coming up to my anniversary in MPG. I'm here just over 12 months, which flies by, I think, within any role, but it's certainly flown by here. I think 2023 was a fantastically successful year for Northern Power Grid. And it's not just due to the flexibility team, but I just think due to our DSO embarkment in terms of how we set ourselves up, how we've got going, how we've implemented processes, how we've engaged, etc. I'll quickly touch on a few touch points here in terms of we implemented PICLO within the flexibility services team. We're very proud to be with PICLO and part of that consortium of other DNOs, and also part of Flexible Power in terms of our dispatch functionality as well. So we've combined those two to give us, we think, is probably the market leading flexibility service window and dispatch mechanism at the moment in the UK, which has been fantastic for us. We're providing postcode and geographical data for competition zones. Again, we're very transparent. On PICLO, you can log on and Flexible Power, seeing where we're obviously operating competitions, the expression of interest. We've developed APIs for dispatch and settlement between the two platforms, which is very pertinent to PICLO and Flexible Power. And as we are probably one of two only utilizing Flexible Power and PICLO, we believe we've developed those APIs ourselves and obviously been sharing them and obviously allowing that knowledge to be disseminated out in industry. Pre-qualifying for FSP and their assets ahead of competition windows. Yes, we've been doing that as well. Just want to note as I'm going through, please, folks, for those of you who know me, I don't do formal, so please be asking questions throughout. I like to see questions popping in. We're here to serve you and support you, so please don't hold back on the questions. So going on, yeah, increased visibility of our flexibility needs, tendering for shorter term needs from 25-26, seeking expression of interest for 27, signposting, network development plan. My colleague Gillian Williamson's done a fantastic job of that. Opening use cases for flexibility within all areas for our network development. Not going to steal any thunder, but Laura has some really interesting use cases she's going to share in terms of outage management and obviously connections where we're looking to utilize Flex. Engagement, so bilateral one-to-one discussions. I love these, and I don't think we do enough of them. We do a lot, but I want to do even more. If I'm being open and honest. Signposting relevant consultations. Yes, we are a very much strong voice in industry in terms of consultations that come out in events, and we believe we have the leading innovation project within the UK for community DSO, which is something we're very proud to have, and obviously showcase participating and exhibiting in industry conferences and events. You'll see us out and about in all the flex zones and obviously within DSO, and providing regular webinars, newsletters and brochures. One point I'll make that we're very proud of the team is that we have a monthly newsletter, and within that newsletter we talk about everything we're doing in the flex space in terms of signposting where we have competitions, upcoming events, useful bits of information, not just within the flex but within the wider DSO. If you've not signed up, please sign up. It is a real good read, and it showcases all the good stuff that we're doing here in MPG. Reducing barriers, participating and leading and working industry ENA open networks forums to program and define, implement new standardized products. My colleague Laura has done a sterling job there, and again, she'll probably note and add a bit in terms of when she comes on a bit of the work she's done there. Implementing and developing the latest industry market innovations to best serve our customers and FSPs. So 2023 was busy. It was very busy, but you know what? We're not happy because we want to do more, and we will do more. We believe that what we set out in the strategy for 2024 will really, I suppose, make what we've done there seem minute, because we're passionate about flex in terms of obviously implementing that within our network, but also getting your support and working with you as FSPs, and not just FSPs, but other stakeholders that flex has an impact on as well. Next slide, please, Rebecca.
Just before we move on, Maurice, we were just going to launch that poll.
Oh my God, I've been bold. So yeah, I have. So yeah, we're going to launch a poll. So from your overall experience in this area the last 12 months, how would you rate our DSO performance? I suppose particularly around flexibility, market development, but also in terms of that, how that sits within our overall DSO performance. If you could score 1 to 10, that'd be very much appreciated. Sorry, Rebecca, I shot the gun too quickly there, so apologies.
No problem at all. I can see we've got some votes coming in, so we'll just give it one moment, and then we'll hand back to Maurice to continue with his presentation. So if everyone wouldn't mind voting on that poll. Okay, we've still got a couple of votes coming in there.
They're probably struggling between 9 and 10.
That must be what it is. Okay, if anyone hasn't voted yet, we'll leave it up there just for another moment or so. But Maurice, do you want to continue on your next slide there?
Please, yeah, if we go on to the next slide, that'd be fantastic. So flexibility services strategic objectives. So before we can embark on our strategy, we need to kind of set the scene. What's our objectives? So very, very quickly, we want to continue to roll out flexibility first policy, which we've signed up to, and test the viability of flexibility services for all reinforcement schemes, but not just reinforcement. Again, as other things I alluded to, how can it be utilized in the business support outages and connections, etc. We want to tender for flexibility service in our constrained areas where it's viable, adopt new standardized products, continue to seek FSP feedback, making things easier and involved, acting on your feedback. And this is the key thing for us, is that we've set about in terms of what we think is the best strategic approach here and our objectives. But you tell us if there's something in here you feel that doesn't suit your needs as a provider or an FSP, let us know, and we'll happily take that away and amend. I'm very transparent and very open that we want to be here to support you and be seen to be supporting you. That's key for us, and that's what we're passionate about. We want to implement a service stacking environment to allow FSPs to participate fully across energy and flexibility market. I think this is key. Every time I go to events, I'm probably the one of the loudest voice in the room saying we need to get this happening, particularly within the next winter. I don't want to go through another winter without having a stacking environment in place. And I think the good collaboration we're doing with other DSOs and obviously the ESO will make that happen. I see a lot of things happening in that space, and I'm very, very hopeful that will be in situ for coming this next winter. Enhance our engagement with all stakeholders, continue to raise awareness of opportunity of flexibility service. Again, so there's ample opportunity at both HV and LV, which we'll go into a little bit later. But again, we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that opportunity within your organization. Next slide, please, Rebecca. Oh, apologies, it was late. So flexibility services plan. So we've planned to set about doing 3 tenders this year. Why do you say 3? Well, we want to be seen for doing more, to be quite frank, and be given every opportunity to FSP to participate in our competitions. The generic ones are spring, autumn, which is fine, and if that works, that's fantastic. We've also added another one for summer, because sometimes there can be some mop-up or delays and some contracts getting going for whatever reasons, multitude of different reasons for that. So when we're speaking with the team, let's do 3 per year, and maybe we do 4 or 5. I don't know. You tell us what works best. I suppose the key point here is that we think 3 is an adequate number in terms of timings and obviously what makes things worse. But if you think that we should do more or less, let us know. We're very keen to have your feedback. There'll be 3 tender rounds per year. For our low voltage network, our spring tender will include 50 distribution substations. So in our autumn last year, we set about adding in 10 distribution substations to test the market. We got lots of bids back, which is fantastic for our LV flex that we put out. Hence, we're upping our game. We're doing 50, and we'll continue to up that number as time goes on, really making sure that we offer every opportunity out there to our FSPs and also ensure that we capitalize on that flex that's available. Subject to the level of FSP participation, we will strive to increase these at subsequent tenders. So yeah, folks, that's the objectives, the plan, in terms of how we're gearing up and what we're trying to embark on. But again, if I want you to think about this a little bit in your own organization. Does this fit? Does this suit? Is there something about this you don't like? Feedback, please. It'll be really good because we want to make sure we cater to your needs and make sure that we're delivering for you. Okay, next slide, please, Rebecca. I think that's me done. I'm passing over to Laura, am I?
Yes, just about. We just got a quick poll, just about the number of tender rounds.
Oh, God,
the audio.
I've done it again. I've done it again. So Yes, folks. So the number of tender rounds per year, can you give us a bit of feedback, 2, 3 or more? Can you please let us know? That would be useful feedback.
I can see the vote. They're both coming in there. So just give that one more moment and then we will hand on to Laura. Okay, I think that's just pretty much done with the poll, Laura.
Thanks, Becca. Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Brown, and I'm one of the commercial managers for Flexibility Services in the System Flexibility team at Northern Powergrid. I'm going to provide some detail on the flexibility products approach we'll be taking and give some foresight to the upcoming tender locations. So if we move on to the next slide when you've got a second, please. So from our very next tender, we will be adopting the industry-aligned flexibility products. These were developed with other DNOs from the ENA Open Networks programme. And I know a number of you on the call have been providing feedback into the development of these products, so thanks very much for that. The alignment of these products provides more clarity to the market and the standardisation of approach for distribution flexibility services in the UK, so they're extremely helpful to us and hopefully to the industry to use as providers. Because you've got one approach works across the whole, all of the DNO networks. So more details on these products are due from the ENA in the coming weeks, so look out for that. We'll definitely post details of it in our newsletter. We'll be using scheduled utilisation in our next tender round and are actively developing systems and processes to allow us to adopt the other network use cases and products, hopefully some of those later in the year. The use cases we're exploring include energy efficiency, planned and unplanned outage risk management support, and using flexibility services as a tool to enable accelerated connections for our customers. And I think that's me for this slide, so you can move on now, thanks. So our flexibility services need for our first tender round of 2024 will very much build on the success of the last one. So in autumn 2023, we looked for over 5 megawatts of capacity across a number of long service windows, and that equated to a tendered energy procurement of around 8 gigawatt hours of customer response. So we'll build on our list of sites based on the publication of our 2024 DFES, and that will come later this month. And we anticipate the launch of the tender competitions in February, and this will include those at least 50 distribution substation sites that Maurice mentioned. So we'll be able to share info in early February about the sites and the specification, and at that time we'll also be able to confirm the dates for the pre-qualification and the bidding windows for the competitions. So to get involved, we strongly recommend you sign up for Piccolo as soon as you can, register your assets and complete the Northern Powergrid DPS, and then you're ready to go. And you'll be notified through the Piccolo system of when we open up the competitions. But in the meantime, reach out to us in Piccolo to let us know where your assets are operating. And we're happy to facilitate trilateral discussions between you, us and Piccolo to make better use of your time. And you can contact us on the flexibility@northernpowergrid.com email address to get more to arrange those meetings. Just let us know. We'll look forward to engaging with a lot of you in the future and continue the success of the collaborations with some of you that are already on our systems. So thank you. That's me, Becca. Thanks. I'll hand over back to Nicole. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, great. So if you can just go to the next slide, Rebecca. So this slide is looking at the different stakeholder activities that we would like to progress this year. Some of you may recognise some of these activities because it does include some that we all know and love, but we are thinking about introducing different activities that we could do. But these are just the ones that we're thinking of. So we'd appreciate your feedback. Is there anything that's not included on this webinar that you would like to see? Please reach out to us either in the chat if you've got any first thoughts, or if you would like to get in touch with us at flexibility@northernpowergrid.com. So I'm just going to go through in a bit more detail each of the activities because some of you may not be familiar if you've not already contracted with us or had any conversations. So Maurice already mentioned earlier in regards to the newsletter. So the best way to see our newsletters is by signing up to our mailing list. So I'm beating the same drum, but if you're wanting to be part of the mailing list, email us at Flexibility Northern Power Grid, and that's where you get first access to the newsletters. But we also do publish those newsletters on our website as well. We do try and do them monthly or every other month, because we don't just include updates in regards to the flexibility team. There may be updates across the DSO. So that's in regards to the newsletters. The webinars, I mentioned earlier, this is the first one of the year, but we are very keen to do more. But I think we'd appreciate your feedback. What is it that you'd like us to do webinars on? What would you find helpful? We was thinking of doing them before tender rounds. Would it be helpful to have an informative webinar? Please do let us know. The guidance documentation. So this is something that we started developing on last year. So you may have seen we published a brochure which was looking at how to get involved in being a flexibility service provider. We do publish all our documentation on the website, which is listed here, www.northernpowergrid.com/flexibility services. And we also are keen to start publishing user guides. We publish the procurement reports, but if there's anything that we're not currently doing that you'd like to see, again, please let us know. The animation and communications. So at the end of last year, we was working really hard on a branded animation, which Maurice will be speaking about later, so I won't go into too much detail. But this year we're going to be working on a campaign. So if you haven't seen it, I'm hoping that you do start seeing it soon. And then we'll also be working with our communications team here at Northern Power Grid to start working on engagement plans before tenders. So as you can see at the bottom of this slide, most of these activities will be conducted monthly or before each tender round. And we like this idea of maybe publishing a detailed engagement plan before each tender. So if that's something that you'd like to see, please let us know. Surveys. So we have actually just issued a survey where we was capturing feedback from the previous tender round, but we're very keen to start doing surveys after every internal event that we hold. The mailing list, I've already mentioned this one, but if you're not on the mailing list, you need to be, because we think that it's very beneficial to be on this mailing list, because you get all the updates and hear all the news of what we're up to or what we plan to do straight away. So why would you not want to be on it? A new activity is the FSP Virtual Surgery Days. So as mentioned previously, we do have one-to-one bilateral engagements, either with us or with Piccolo. But would you be interested in having a more formalised date in the diary as a virtual surgery day, where we can set up calls and you can meet some of the team that are on this call today, and you can ask any sort of questions and we can be available for you to speak to us. Roadshows is another one that's a new idea. Of once we have published the locations of where we're going out flexibility, would it be helpful for us to host roadshows in locations so you can come and speak to us and see us? In-person events, so we attend both events internally and externally. And then last but not least is industry engagement. So we coordinate with the other DNOs and attend forums and conferences across the region. But yeah, like I said, please put any questions in chat if you have any around this stakeholder engagement activities, or please just use the chat to let us know if there's anything not on here that you'd like to see. So now I'm going to pass back to Maurice. Thank you.
Perfect, folks. So I think I'm in the concluding bit of this presentation, which is fantastic. So I think first up is a use case. Is that right, Becca? Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, it is. Thought so. So just give you a bit of an overview, folks. So GWE biogas plant in Yorkshire provide a flexibility service to us. They provide a turn up, which serves and supports Kilburn substation in times of peak demand. This is a fantastic partnership we have with GWE Biogas. They really are providing a critical service. I think it's 1.2, 1.3 megawatts it is. You'll correct me afterwards if it's right in the chat in terms of the capacity they provide. But again, super fantastic partnership, lots of positive feedback from them. And they're just one of our many flexibility service providers we have. We want more though. So if you are an organization who operates similar to GWE Biogas, you don't have to be biogas plants, you could be water, you could be whatever, facilities management, etc., etc. Please get in touch, because we believe there's other fantastic partnerships we would like to have with yourselves. So that's the key thing, is there that I think we're coming up to our 2nd year now with them, and they're very, very happy. We're very happy with the service they're providing, and hopefully that continues based on the need of flex within that current area. Next slide, please. So aggregators. So I think 2023 has certainly been a year for aggregators for us. We've signed up additional contracts with Octopus Energy, which has been fantastic, and we have a strong relationship with them, and vice versa. We also signed up with Equiwatt, another very, very, I suppose, mainstream aggregator in this space. We're very proud to have contracts in place with them. And then we have another aggregator, which I can't announce. I've been told I can't give, just because we're in the final stages of just signing off T's and Q's, but we will have them as an additional aggregator as well. But we want to be, if you're an aggregator and I haven't mentioned your list there, we want to be in conversation with you. We believe that LV Flex, it will probably be the biggest source of flex that we have within the MPG network, as in terms of where it comes from. We predict that the vast majority capacity will come at distribution level. So we're very, very keen to have strong relationships with our aggregators and ensure that they're very aware of what's going on and have the opportunity to participate. In which case, we'll be holding an aggregator dedicated day in March, where we'll get you in, have a detailed discussion and one-to-one surgery. And again, it doesn't have to be just with aggregators, it can be any form of FSP. We want to show you essentially our network, where we have needs, constraints, where you have, I suppose, flex, and understand where that is and see how that marries up and see what collaboration opportunity we can do there. So that's going to be very prominent in March in terms of us having a lot of these one-to-one sessions. We'll probably run them in London, Manchester, and within Leeds. So again, just trying to dot ourselves about so that we're not just based in our neck of the woods, that we come to you as well. So if you're interested in that, please, you know what's coming. Email the flexibility@northernpowergrid.com, and let's get something in the diary, because I think that would be a really, really fruitful conversation, not just for us, but for yourselves as well. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, the flexibility animation. Yes, look, I'm very, I know this may seem minute, but I think we're one of the only DNOs or DSOs to have a dedicated flexibility service animation video. And some of you might think, oh, that's niceties and it's decorative. It's not. We've had lots of positive feedback about this video in terms of how the education it gives to industry on what flexibility service is. We're very, very proud of it. If you haven't seen it, please click on. It's a really, really informative and feel-good video, and it gives an overview of flexibility services, something which is pertinent to obviously the MPG area and region. We're very proud of it, I said. So if you've not had the opportunity to check this out, please do. I think it's really informative and we're very good. Next slide, please.
So that's all the slides there now, Maurice. We're gonna launch one final poll, I think, and then hand over to Nicole for the Q&A.
So I've done the trifecta. I've missed all the polls. Sorry, guys.
So yeah, so this last poll is particularly for anyone on the call who hasn't participated in any competitions for flexibility services so far, just to gain an understanding as to why this was. So there's a number of different options on the poll there, and for each one you can vote yes, no, don't know, just to give that level of understanding of those of you who haven't participated, why that is. Okay, well, that's going on. Do you want to kick off with the Q&A, Nicole?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. So I can appreciate that there's been some questions throughout the webinar, and we've had Liz and Jeremy, both from the team, replying to these questions. But I just think for the benefit of the webinar, it might just be worth going through them questions as well, just to give an answer. So the first one is, could you explain the value of Piccolo and flexible power together? Liz, I know you provided an answer to this, but can anyone just explain that a bit further on the call?
Yeah, so basically we have two platforms that work together for different parts of the end-to-end process. So if you think about the process as when we advertise what flexibility services we want to buy, you know, the locations, voltages, capacity requirements, prices, we advertise it on Piccolo. As a potential flex provider, you can register an account on Piccolo. You can apply to be qualified as a potential provider. you register your assets on Piclo, and you can take part in competitions. And then on Piclo, we assess the bids we've got and we decision those bids, and then you'll be notified of that. So the Piclo is the what I call the pre-contracting stage. So it's the advertising and the actual competitive tender itself. And then after a contract's been awarded, then we actually flip the contract details over to the flexible power system, which is where we actually do the operations. So that's where we hold details of the contract and we do the dispatch and settlement from that. And as a potential flex provider, you can see in there, the details, the invoices that are created for the flex that you've provided. I'll invite Jeremy and Nicole to say a little bit more about flexible power if they want to, because they're more expert on that than I am. But just coming back, before I do that, just coming back to Piclo. So you can actually register your assets on Piclo at any time, not just in the run up to a competition. So that might be something you want to consider doing. And also you can apply to qualify as a supplier to us at any time. So that those are quite good things to actually do at any point. And then when a competition comes along, you will be notified of competitions where your assets are eligible to or in the right place to participate.
And I'll throw my 2 cents in as well, and if that's okay. So things are worth noting. So flexible, certainly with Piclo, they hold the vast majority of DSOs in terms of consortium together. And you probably think, oh, that's minute, but it's great collaboration and obviously having speaking opportunities and understanding industry issues. I think the other interesting thing as well with flexible power is it's very similar. Us, SPEN and SSEN are part of that as well. So I'm not saying NGED are part of that. So you have those really informative discussions and how you develop those platforms and make sure those platforms are fit for purpose for our needs, but most importantly, your needs. So I suppose being with a single platform, I suppose that's great, but being part of a platform where there's a multitude of different DSOs there, it's very more fruitful and you can kind of move things more forward in a more forceful and meaningful manner. So that's what I'd say to that as well.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've got another question here that's in the chat. So how do you feel the new regional planners and future FSO can interact with your flexibility tools and tenders? How relevant will this be for your customers linked to that developing landscape?
So I'll take that question. That's a real peach of a question. I don't know who put that in there, but yeah, we're very much involved with this. Interestingly enough as well, I'll share with you a bit of an upcoming and that we've done a piece of work with Electricity Northwest in terms of uptake and flex within regional areas. And we're very much ensuring that that's taken into account for from the central market facilitators set up and design and for the regional system planners. We've done a lot. We believe that uptake of flex within, say, northern or DSOs versus southern is not the same. It's different networks, different topologies, different communities, environments, etc. It's not the same. So we're heavily involved. How can the FSO support? I think the key thing for us, not the FSO, but the ESO, but I think the key thing for us is that a stacking environment really needs to come in. Stacking makes sense for everyone. It benefits you, the consumer, it benefits us, it benefits all. I think what we just need to do is get on and do it, if I'm brutally honest. And I'm very, very keen that we put things in motion for this year, that we set about setting up a stacking regime for the end, certainly of 2024, that allows us to do that. I think a collaboration with FSO is key. Obviously, they're going to be holding the kind of the mantle on that, and we have strong relationships with them and feed in terms of our thoughts and opinions based on what's right for our region. So that relationship and that partnership is key for us. I hope I've answered that and maybe give a little bit more context there on certain things, if that's useful.
Yeah, thanks, Maurice. So an easy question. Can you place the link to the video in the chat, please? So Rebecca, I'm not sure if you have already, but can you add the link to the animation? Thank you. Nice and easy. Another question is there a minimum combined output size for aggregators? Laura, I can see that you've replied to this, so I'm just going to come to you for that one, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. In autumn 2023, the minimum aggregated capacity level was 10 kilowatts. I know Liz has clarified that don't forget that's for every type of provider. But just again, a bit of foresight from the Open Networks programme, we're looking to reduce that further to match up some of what the other DNOs have managed. But at the moment, it's 10 kilowatts.
Lovely, thank you. Another question is, could you provide the scale of what you are doing in whatever currency? Liz, I know you've put your response in chat, but just for the call, is it okay if you can just expand on that?
Yeah, so just trying to find what I wrote in the chat, so I can say the same thing again. So I think Jeremy's put some in as well. So in terms of scale, so in 2023 we ran 2 tender rounds, and that included a mix of EHV sites or primary substations and HV or distribution substations. So if you add all that together, what we did in both tender rounds, that was 26 zones where we ran competitions. Just over half of those were at the primary level and just under half of those were at the distribution level. And as we've mentioned earlier, we're looking to increase that distribution level number of competitions as we go. Total capacity we tendered was 18 megawatts, more in the spring round than in the autumn round. But what we tender for does vary as our system forecasting team revise their forecast based on the latest data.
Brilliant, thank you, Liz. So a question is, I am aware that UKPN have moved away from using Piccolo. This creates a concern for us as an FSP, as our multiply works further down the line. Therefore, I applaud the interaction between Piccolo and Flexible Power. If we were to upload all assets to Piccolo now, would there be interaction with another system should Northern Power Grid change that route to market?
So, Lewis, really good question. At the moment, like nothing certain, but we have a fantastic relationship with Piccolo. Like when we set about appointing a pre-contract platform provider, it's Piccolo's experience and knowledge in the market, and I suppose not just that, they operate all over the world, and that knowledge they've accumulated. So we have a very strong partnership with them, and I suppose the other thing I'd say is they take to what we say into account and adapt their platform that suits our needs. So feedback we get from yourselves, we push that back into Piccolo and make sure that happens. We're not just a DSO that takes feedback. It's clear to say we make things happen here. And with Piccolo, what I've liked seeing thus far is what we've said they've taken into account and obviously implemented what we've said. So we're very, very happy with Piccolo at the moment. I'm not canvassing for Piccolo or anything like that. Don't really care. But I'm happy with the partnership there thus far. And again, with Flexible Power, part of that consortium of their DSOs, again, what we say in terms of that's what we need to serve us as a DSO, they're taken into account and implemented. So as of right now, there's no plan to move away as long as this relationship stays strong. And more so, the key thing is that you're benefiting and you're seeing the results you want and you're finding the ease of access and upload and obviously you utilizing the platform, then we'll be happy. Because our measure on Piccolo will be what your thoughts are, how we provide a service to you.
Thank you, Maurice. So we've got one more question, but please feel free to add any more to the chat before I go to closing comments from Maurice. So someone said, apologies if I missed this, is the 10 kilowatt minimum, is that per aggregator or per metered unit?
Should I answer that one?
Yes, please.
So this is a minimum for the flex service provided. So if you're an aggregator providing a service, real contracts provide a level of flexibility, has to be at least 10 kilowatts, but you may have 20, 50, whatever customers behind that. But that 10 kilowatt also applies for, a large single site. So we looked earlier, didn't we, about GWE. So that was like one plant, one asset, one contract. So that 10 kilowatt applies to the asset. So yes, we call that a meterable unit in the dispatch system, don't we? But behind that, there may be one or more end customer assets.
Yeah,
actually, Nicole, I'm just looking at the chat. I can see there's a question that actually we didn't, I think, perhaps pick up when we were talking about the Alan's question, I think, about the scale of the activity. And we talked about number of tender rounds, number of constraint zones, flex tendered. And Alan asked, and can you articulate the benefits? So I thought it was perhaps worth coming back to pick up on that one. I hope I'm going to interpret this question correctly. But you're saying what's the benefits? So the reason we tender for flexibility services, these tenders we did last year, were so that we could defer or avoid reinforcing the network. So we're using flexibility services as an alternative to expenditure on capital investment in the network. So where it's flexibility is viable and as cheap or cheap, no, doesn't cost more or is cheaper than the engineering solution, then there is a benefit in actually doing that. So that's the reason that we do that. And it does also, in some cases, buy us some time while we wait to see how future forecasts turn out in terms of what investment might be required in future.
I think that's a really good point, Liz. And I suppose just to add to that as well is that we want to be seen to be given every opportunity to the FSP and ourselves to contract and procure flex. And we want to be seen to be doing more. And if we're doing more, we're serving you better and more in an informed manner. So like just 3 tenders we picked out isn't just a number we picked out of the year. We want to be seen to be given every opportunity for that partnership and that contract to come to fruition. So, but if you find that that's not viable or it's more of a pain than anything else, let us know. But from our experience and our feedback and engagement thus far, people have welcomed that, and we hope it's the overarching kind of factor here, say, or theme that you think the same as well.
Brilliant, thanks, Maurice. We've got no other question. Oh no, I spoke too soon. We've got another question. Sorry, just bear with me. So thanks for the updates and insightful Q&A. Similar to the marketplace standardisation point, when are Northern Power Grid expecting to roll out standardised products as per the Open Networks programme, i.e. moving away from dynamic to peak reduction, and for technology types, will baselines be standardised against generic profiles or on historic data? I think Laura probably knows I'm going to come to her with this question.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy, for the question. Yeah, we're not going to be using the old products again. We're only from now on we're only going to tender the new ones. My slight caveat to that is if we've already got a contract in place, we won't be. So from our previous tenders where we've used the other products, we're not going to change those contracts. So we'll see those ones out. But moving forward, all new flexibility will be procured with the new standardised products. And for technology types, will baselines be standardised? Yeah, we've got there's on our website, there's a number of details on how we do the baselining, and it's based on, at the moment, generic profiles.
Can I just add to that? So the generic profiles are usually particularly appropriate where you've got sort of mass market. So if you think about domestic customers, you know, who have lots of customers with EVs or lots of customers with general demand side response, those are the kind of end flexibility assets that are most amenable to a generic profile. Where we have, say, an industrial or commercial site, then is much more likely to be appropriate to use historical data to work out what an appropriate baseline would be, because that is very specific to that site.
Brilliant, thank you, Liz. So I've just got another question. What are your constraints to scale even faster?
So I'll answer that. So I hope I'll answer in the correct manner. So at the moment, our constraints as of right now, we have about 5 or 6 primary substrates at this moment in time where we have constraints. Towards the from 26 onwards, that increases. I think we have another 4 HV sites pop on at the moment, and that's at HV. And that's just looking at a reinforcement deferral, because obviously we talked about other types of flex you can utilize and outage management and within connections. But distribution is quite exciting. I don't know if you're involved or looking at the distribution space. So we've gone out with 10 sites. In autumn, we had bids in nearly every site, which has been fantastic. We're going to go out with 50 sites in spring. And I'm going to push to go even further than that, hopefully around 80 or 90 sites within the summer. So we do have constraints, and yeah, we have a huge appetite to prepare what we have in terms of constraint internally and push that out to the market to allow you to capitalize and support us on that. So yes, very ambitious, a lot going on, and hopefully lots of opportunity for you to partner up and engage with us.
Brilliant, thank you, Maurice. We've got no further questions now within the chat. So I'm just going to go to you, Maurice, for closing comments.
So folks, look, really appreciate your time. And I suppose I should have said, I hope you're keeping safe in this strange weather we're having at the moment, and you're all safe and tucked away. And our colleagues and networks are doing a sterling job and obviously working safe. But thank you so much for your time. We really hope you found this informative. We're keen for feedback. As I said, if you haven't engaged with us in the past and there's opportunity for you to registered assets or kind of engage with us prior to tenders, I think that's key, because we're very keen to do as much engagement prior to tender competitions going out. We don't have to wait for a competition or a tender. Engage now. We'll show you where we have constraints and where they're upcoming and get that ball rolling ASAP. I believe that MPG, we're not just a DSO who does hearsay. We actually, what we say, we put into action. I think it's been very clear from 2023. We're very much seen as the DSO that's been doing, and we're going to continue that into 2024. So with that in mind, I want to thank you all. Be safe and speak soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for that, Maurice. Just before everyone goes, we've just got one final poll just to get your view on how you found today's session. So if you wouldn't mind quickly answering that poll, and then do feel free to drop off the call and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you, everyone.